Welcome everyone to the first episode of Sound Advice with Ed Cleveland. So in the first episode we're going to talk about the Ghanta and Vajra, or Dril-bhu and Dorje, depending on where we're coming from. So the bell has been used throughout all the time. Bell metal, alloy, or bells in general have been used to either call in or cast out. For example, church bells ringing at noon or 11 o'clock to announce, come to service. And then they could be ringing for there's a fire in town. So using these bronze instruments can create a change, because we start with our energy field, because what's going on here is, first, when the bell is being rung, it's getting our attention. So that's an external part of our body. We're paying attention to what's going on outward. But when investigating it, we start to go into it. What's going on? What are these different sounds? How come they're low? Why does it feel like it could be pushing something lower away? What are all the different details? So you start to go into the space, which is the first element. Space, wind, fire, water, earth. These are made from the 5 elements. This holds the space of the first element, or the sound of the elements. So in working with these, they don't always come with it, but if they come with 2 parts, they're supposed to be together. So this particular one is a 9-top, which is a older version. Then you also have the 5 tops, which are newer in Buddhist tradition. These are more from the Bonpo tradition. So the 5 tops work with like the 5 elements. We have 5 senses. We have 5 major organs in our body. The 5s go on and on and on. Their prayer flags have 5 colors in them, because they kind of work with 5 different areas of the body. And those 5s go on and on. Some people relate them to the so-called chakras. Chakras have a different meaning and value in different parts of the world. There's many different ways of looking at them. But there's more important things than that, which is actually coming back to what's before that, what's actually happening before that. So the chakras themselves are where energy centers cross. That's where a chakra is. And the chakra is more of what the sound seed syllable is of that area. So working with that sound, with that energy, the light that's going with it, the 5 different rays of light and colors that go with sound. These are all very, very important. They all basically starts with like a breathing technique that you use to activate and warm up your 3 central channels. The 3 central channels help to spread out to nourish and feed your 5 major organs, and the 5s go on and on and on and on. So basically it goes out to 84,000 different areas of the body, which then goes into 360,000 different particles, going out through your body. So basically the breathing, the channel, and the tubes is like your house. And what's happening from the house is like if you have an electrical system, which you turn the lights on and it goes throughout the whole house. That's the intricate system within your body. And then the amount of energy that's being used is the prana, which is our energy field, or the mind field. Everything goes back to the mind field. Everything has to do with the mind. The mind and prana work together. You can't have one without the other, which is why this is so important. So it's one of those areas that sometimes is missed. So in working with your prana, it's like where your attention goes, that's where the prana goes. So that's where the mind is going. So that's why in certain visualizations they have you focus on different areas of the body, because it's stimulating that different area of the body. So if you look at the center, and I took the clapper out, this is why it's not ringing, because I utilize it to work as a singing bell, which you just heard. But this center area is like our energy field, and we're here in the center, and our field is all the way around us. So what happens internally within our field ends up coming out to the external side, and the external part of our energy field has something to do with changing our insides. So it's important to understand our energy field, how to manage it. It's like our auric field, that's the pranamaya kosha, your energy field. That has everything to do with everything. So in working inside your field, whatever you're focusing on in that attention is getting bounced around or starts working on through the boundary physics of the container of the bell, which is similar to how a gong works, but that's also how your energy field works. So in ringing the bell and creating this different sensation that's going on inside, it's important to go a little bit deeper in what's actually happening here. Because yes, you hear the sound of the bell, but then wait, there's something else going on. There's many different parts about the bell. I actually took a class. We spent a whole day on this. So we're learning each and every little part. There's a mandolin side. You have the deity on the side. Said that the deity is a deity that went in and stole the Book of Wisdom from the King and Queen of the Nagas to bring back for humanity to use, so on and so forth. So in working with these is understanding what these are, what they're made of, and how they were used in throughout history, because then you're tapping into the reasons why they're there. And that's important. And also something to note is that bronze is not able to have different viruses collect on it. So it actually wards certain things away. So that's very handy. So this is a bronze. This is like a very concentrated formula of bronze that's in here. Bronze is usually 80% copper, 20% tin. Some places may add a little bit of zinc in as a filler, so it goes a little bit longer way. I actually have a Ghanta up there that is like that, and it has a whole different sound, but we'll get to that. So in working with the bell, first of all, it always comes with the Vajra, or the Dorje. So this is your protection piece. You're supposed to pick this up first with your right hand. It works with the male and female sides. If you're solely using this, this would actually fit into the category of sharp weapons. But this has been used throughout time of throwing and putting out to do different things around the world. But usually those were the wrathful ones. They were kind of like pointy and spiky. This one's peaceful and nurturing. But this helps to balance the left and right hemisphere of the brain, the male and female sides, has your sphere inside, and in doing a lot of different modalities, healing modalities I use, it's beautiful because it all fits under the same category. It's all part of the umbrella of learning what's going on. We talk about spheres and doing energy balls and the flower of life and how they can interact throughout the body. And they're similar to like a fractal where you can have one inside another, inside another, inside another, and go on for infinity. So this is important because that little sphere that's inside, we can actually put that in certain parts of our body and amplify it and call light into it to do certain things and different reasons. So this is a very strong and important tool. It's also said to help bring in the power of diamond-plated protection, impenetrable. So you can roll mantras or prayers into these. You can use them to just like shoot out virtual thunderbolts to cast things away of maybe a lower vibration. So these are a tool that has been used in a lot of different healing modalities. Reiki, this is perfect to have. You can use this solely on your own. You can do a lot of different work with it once you understand and know how to use it. The only challenge that we've come up with in my classes was that people like to use these also to try to open up the third eye, and we're told not to mess with the third eye. Third eye needs to evolve on its own. It's like Kundalini rising. You don't want to rush it. If you rush it, who knows what can happen. And same thing with your third eye. You wouldn't want to rush something, and then you're starting to see things that you're not ready to, and then how do you turn that off? So that's an important thing. So this is always picked up first in the right hand, has the male and the female. This gives you the protection when you are opening the void, which is the female, the container, the feminine aspect, again working with the sound of calling in or again taking away or casting out. So the metal and creating a sound is a very unique pitch, and again in working with these you want to really learn what the sound of the instrument is. So I would have my students work on ringing the bell and learning the sound, memorizing the sound, because once you know its main fundamental sound, then this way if you work on your skill set to be able to make that same sound and the same decibel range, working your muscle memory, you're able to walk around with it, you start to really integrate what that sound means to you. So again, this is again working into your field. And when that sound starts to change, it's actually telling you a story. So normally the sound may dip a little bit, which is mean that it's absorbing the lights, the color, the rays, the sound. So we sit there and we play it a little bit longer in the same fashion, and we wait for that sound to come back up. Then we know that it's doing its part. There's other ways this is also used again in Reiki because it is shining light. It's putting light out and you can draw with it, and it's doing many different things. It's so beautiful. So the clapper, so this one now has the clapper inside. The clapper is like you in your energy field, and so you're having a hectic day, it's kind of moving all around, but once it starts to sway, you can start to pick up a certain rhythm, and you hold it on the top, you're holding the Vajra, but you're using your finger to tilt. So you can either tilt it toward you to allow the clapper to ring, or you can go the other way, allow the clapper to ring. And you want to be able to work with this where you're controlling the clapper, the way it moves, you're connecting with it, so there's no separation between you and the clapper. This is where you're really going into this instrument. You're getting a feel of how the clapper is moving, because a lot of times if it starts moving around and doesn't want to ring, it's telling you something. It's almost in my mind like no, don't ring, because then I'm going to have to go. So I actually use this in my crystal training too, because I teach people to use the clapper part to go around the crystal so they can feel if there's a crystal that's more heavier than the others. So you can then ring it and bring it over the crystal to help supercharge or ramp it back up, again by listening to the sound. So it's really important because these can be abrasive, they can be pretty loud. So in working your skill set, and creating the sound when you want, how loud you want it. So this is something, again, that needs to be practiced. This is why we have class and training to work with these instruments to perfect a skill and an understanding of it, the history. I'm just going through a quick little part. So we can understand how to play it better build that communication, because we wanted to be able to keep a simple beat or a rhythm to do whatever it is that we want to do, or more in a meditative state. But you can also, again, use these as a therapeutic on a person. But if you're going to do that, you really got to have your skill level up, because you don't want to just rush into a person's energy field and go ahead and start ringing away, because you could be violating them. You could be it could actually create tension into the listener, and that's not sound healing. So this is a really important part in working with the bell and with the sound and going into it. So as you're working with this instrument, it's also helping you go through your life and things that are going on with you. It helps to get you out of your right brain into the left brain into the right brain, so you start getting the feelings and the emotions of what's coming up when you're doing these sounds. How is the sound moving? How come it's changing when I'm changing the height? Because the sound uses the medium of air. So the air from the bell is bouncing off the containers of the room. So again, we have the container inside a container, or the container outside the container, outside the container. So these are very important principles in working with different healing modalities, doing sound in general, working different instruments, because some of the things that you learn with one instrument can be applied to many other instruments. So again, I don't play anything that I haven't taken classes with to learn the history and what they're about, and learn how to play them in a skillful way, because I work with people. So I want to make sure that I'm up to par, and that I can play to the best of my ability, which can then have more effects on a person. So the more you know, the more you can do with what you know. Now, I mentioned the one behind me, or I have a few behind me. So in my classes, I also show people how you can get more affordable ones that are a little shinier. I'll hold them side by side. A little shiny. You can tell there's more brass in this. There's more zinc in there. Brass doesn't sustain its sound as long. To me, this has this tinny sound. So in my classes, I mention to people that if you're going to invest in something, you're going to invest in something that you're going to outgrow as far as sound quality, because you're the one being retuned when you're into different meditations and learning different practices. So this might be an unwise investment. It might be half the price of the other one, but once you outgrow it, you're going to have to get a good one, or you're going to want to get a good one, and then now you just spent a lot more money on buying a good one. So I actually have this one on to just teach people what not to get. But it's also stated that good instruments can also raise the quality of another instrument. So I'm going to place it up there because I'm going to play for you in a bit, so I'll give you a little taste. I have them set up in a different way. So, Tibetan style bowls, this is a Manipuri bowl, which originated from the Manipuri kingdom, which is also considered Nagaland. So they would actually make medicines to eat, to drink. This was their cup, their bowl. And the alloy is very important, because alloy was doing the alchemy inside with the medicines to apply it to use for healing. So they use what you put in the bowl for the healing process. So it's the bronze that did the alchemy to whatever it is they put in it. And you can put the bronze into the skin. So this is a different way to apply it. And other instruments that are bronze nowadays too, we're able to use the Nagadi bells. These are master quality. These are singing bowl alloy. So they're larger, they have a whole different sound going on. These are probably one of the most misunderstood instruments out there. So here's a little introduction on. There's going to be more details on these later, as my teacher's also going to be putting out some information for people to follow. But Nagadi bells, again that word Naga comes up. The bell had a deity on it, Nagaland. So this is a little important hidden thing inside. When playing instruments and working with ourselves to understand our energy field, the information that's going in, this also has to do with the right and left hemisphere of our brain, again, which is like the Vajra. So in balancing our thoughts and our emotions, because every thought, feeling, emotion you have is sending a chemical, electrical, magnetic signal into your body to make that happen. So again, the more you realize, the more you know and understand, the more you can do with things. And in the practice in general, this goes back much further than Buddhism. Buddhism is 25,000 years old. Bonpo is the original religion of Tibet, goes back 18,000 years. So with that system, they have all the information with all the medicine, and 90% of Buddhism actually adopted information from the Bonpo without giving them credit, but it's now coming around where people are understanding what's going on. So with this, we're working with the 5 elements, which is space, wind, fire, water, and earth. The sound of them is Ah, Yang, Ram, Mang, Kam. These work with your 5 major organs. They work with 5 different colors, which by prayer flags have 5 different colors. So the space is working with the white, which is also working with the organ, which is the heart. We also have 5 poisons that we have to watch out for, which is why the breathing exercise is so important first thing in the morning. Because the 5 poisons are anger, pride, desire, jealousy, and delusion. So what we want to do is in our meditative practice and working with our field and doing our breathing exercises, we want to ramp and charge and protect our energy field, especially nowadays. Very, very important. So we actually want to turn greed into generosity, hatred or anger into love, ignorance into wisdom, jealousy into openness, pride into peacefulness or humility, pleasure and distraction into compassion. So again, very important information. When you understand where different sounds are going in different parts of the body, different sounds that you can make and work with those 3 different channels, which feeds all the 5 organs, which feeds your 5 senses, so on and so forth. You will find that there's a world going into this rabbit hole that just keeps going. So it all depends on what you're interested in, how far you want to go, and right now we have a lot of extra time in our hands. So this is an important thing, and why I'm doing these videos is to help to educate people, to give you something that can help you right now, because everything that's going on with your field is everything that I was just talking about with the bell. Same thing with the gong, or Tibetan style bowl. So, I hope you enjoyed those few facts. I'm going to put my chair to the side. So the sounds are making a harmonic. There's sounds within sounds, which are creating the overtones, which are creating different forms of microtonality. So again, in going into the space of what's actually happening, and you playing different instruments, even though some of these are very, very close, but they're still all different. And finding how they sound and what feels good to you is important, because what is the perfect bell for you is the one that you seem to enjoy the most. Is it more of a higher sound or a deeper, lower sound? Something that's a little older. And again, these work with a lot of different healing modalities. It's very popular in Reiki. My Reiki students go through a lot of different sound practices because sound came before the symbols. The sound of the symbols. And they also worked with the sound of the 5 elements. Going back into the Ah, circular rainbow. The Ah symbol is space. So actually I have the space symbol connected with the deity, Selah Merkin, which is called the brightness in the hands, which is Reiki. That's where Reiki came from. Reiki was a rediscovered art, said to be possibly of Buddhist tradition or origin, but Buddhism is only 2,500 years old. Bonpo was 18,000 years old. Which is why it's confusing when people dig up statues and carbon date statues of Buddhas when they're 14,000 years old. Start to think, how can that be? Because the Buddha wasn't the first Buddha. He's the 5th. So there's a lot of information. This information goes into a large area. I've been studying for years. The more I study, the more I realize how little I know, which is why I will keep practicing, keep training, keep working my skill set. And I love to teach, so I'm always working with people. So teaching is my passion. I work really hard in trying to have everyone have an educational experience, to learn a lot more than you thought you were going to learn, and have it be practical in everyday living, because a lot of these things have to do with the way you choose to live your life, the things that you think about, that you practice, and what you're focusing on. So you may have noticed I was playing the bells without the Vajra, but I actually have one on me, so I got my protection. So again, these instruments can help connect you, and you can work with them with your own mantras, with your own prayers. So this is a perfect instrument to use, to go out, to sit, to breathe. Breath is prana. It's one of the elements. It's the last element to leave your body. So in understanding the 5 elements of bone, you can also see how the breakdown of the 5 elements happen in hospice care. You can actually watch these things happen. So what if you were an experienced player and you understood the elements and the sounds that they made, and you had a really good skill set? Could you possibly go in to help ease the comfort of a person that's going through transitional stages in their life? To help apply some of the sound which can help ease the burden or the feeling of that element breaking down the body, where they feel thirsty no matter how much they drink, or they're feeling cold no matter how many blankets are on them. So these are all used in therapeutic practices to help ease the pain and suffering of people. So if you're going to be doing that, I highly recommend you find an educated teacher that can teach you as much as they can. I teach everybody to find different instruments that they're drawn to. Then I have them work that skill set, not learning how to play like me, to have them play like they want to play. Because we all have our own personal soul note inside, so we're naturally going to be drawn or connected to something. and then work with that. So, in having something like that, again, having a lot of instruments doesn't necessarily mean that they all work together. Great. I mean, I played them all, and some were okay, some were not. But, again, if you got something that was a little closer together, you can now create a beat and you can create a rhythm. You can do a couple of different things with those. So this is the important part that I wanted to get across, of helping to manage your energy field, because if you have a nice, clear, open, and calm energy field that you filled with this light, the vibration, the rainbow colors, the colors of a full light spectrum. Light is color, color is sound, it's the infinite wisdom of the universe right inside your energy field.